wisdom is that August is a shoddy month, full of games that are too scared to launch in the FIFA and COD wasteland. Everyone's still hungover from E3, and the sun is out too, so no one's playing games, right? Right? Stick a family fortune star here, as the accepted wisdom is wrong. August is a smorgasbord of gaming, with a finger buffet of cracking games. In particular, if you like your games critically acclaimed, then August has you served. There's Hades, which we've been courageously holding off from playing until it hits the Xbox, plus Crown Trick, which has been making waves on the PC and Switch. There's a wide array of sequels too, from the incremental sports game, Madden NFL 22, to the granddaddy of RPGs, King's Bounty 2, all the way to Psychonauts 2, which feels like the return of an old friend. Added some hot-looking indies and the almighty Lawn Mowing Simulator, and you've got a month with huge potential. Psychonauts 2. Outside of Star Citizen and Beyond Good and Evil 2, there aren't many games as simultaneously demanded and delayed as Psychonauts 2. But the acquisition of Double Fine by Microsoft seems to have given the sequel a well-funded kick up the pants. As with the first game, released way back in 2005, you play Raz, a gifted psychic who ran away from his life in the circus to join the titular Psychonauts, a Men in Black style agency that saves the world on a regular basis. Again, like the first game, the joy of Psychonauts is both the patented Schaefer humour and the trippy adventures into the minds of enemies. While Psychonauts 2 is multi-platform, the only place to play it at 120 FPS or at full 4K resolution is on the Series XS. Hades. Shall we list the many reasons to get excited about Hades? It comes from indie super developer Supergiant, who started with Bastion and have gone on to give us Transistor and Pyre. They're incapable of making a bad game, it seems. And so it went with Hades, which ended 2020 with countless awards, including the BAFTA for Best Game. Oh, you want more reasons? Well, it's arriving day one on Game Pass. But the top of the topmost reason for playing Hades is that it's hella good. It's a roguelike dungeon crawler with an action RPG edge, and you'll be playing over and over again in an attempt to make your next run optimal. Zagreus, the main character, unlocks upgrades, weapons, additions for the hub, and even improves their standing with the characters in the game, making Hades as Moorish as barbecue Pringles. Lawn Mowing Simulator. Ever driven past the country house and seen someone on the back of a ride-on mower? Your first instinct might have been, what a boring job. But think about it for a moment. Wind in your hair, riding at 3 km an hour, nobody bothering you as you trim acres of grassland. There's a sense of peace to be had, and it might not be such a bad gig after all. Curve Digital and Skyhook Games know what they've got, and they're going big with Lawn Mowing Simulator. It doesn't just attempt to capture the serenity and smell of freshly cut grass. You're getting your own lawn mowing business as you take on contracts within a single rustic British village. Set your blade height, survey the land, and do donuts in your fancy wheels. There are 12 ride-on mowers to unlock, and they're proper brands. You've got Toro, Skag and Stiga frontline mowers to unlock, as long as you've generated the funds from mowing equestrian fields, country manor grounds and the like. You can even take on other businesses in a case of literal turf wars. This will fly mow off the shelves. Madden NFL 22. We'll admit that we struggle to get excited by a new Madden, but plenty do. From the hoo-ha over the cover stars to the newest features, Madden still does enough to justify a yearly iteration with Madden NFL 22. The headliner this time out is Dynamic Game Days. This is a fancy strapline that encapsulates a few things. The first is Game Day Atmosphere, which looks to capture the atmosphere of each stadium through individual crowd animations, team-specific celebrations, and even superfans of each team. Then there's Game Day Momentum, which unlocks new plays based on the swinging momentum of the game. Finally, there are the next-gen stats, which level up the AI, particularly useful when 80% of Madden games are played against the CPU. We'll try not to smirk at the very EA approach of coming up with a fancy brand for something so simple, and instead give this one a verdict when it arrives in August. Aliens Fireteam Elite. If Alien Isolation took the atmosphere and tension of Alien, the first in the Alien saga, then Aliens Fireteam Elite is opting for the more James Cameron-like thrills of Aliens. It's a cooperative third-person adventure that's set 23 years after the Alien saga, so the world knows about the xenomorphs. The time jump should allow for some novel takes on what's happened since Ripley, Wayland and Ridley Scott last came to the universe. This will happen across 4 separate campaigns, which gives Aliens Fireteam Elite an anthology structure. Cold Iron Games are known for their MMOs and strategy games, so this is a leap into the unknown for them, but they know how to make universes feel like livable spaces, and they know their way around a multiplayer raid, so maybe it's not too big a leap after all. Let's hope it's the start of a new Alien saga. King's Bounty 2. Excuse us for getting misty-eyed and nostalgic, but we played the original King's Bounty on the Amiga and Sega Mega Drive, so this one has a place in our hearts. What's more, it hasn't changed a huge amount over its life, from those original games to the reboots on PC. This is still turn-based strategy on a hex grid, with as many griffins and manticores as you can pack into a game download. What has changed in King Bounties 2 is the emphasis on non-linear story, as you choose one of 3 heroes to return peace to the kingdom of Antara. You'll be building and outfitting an army of fantasy creatures, then taking them onto the battlefield, where you need to match them to the terrain that best suits them, and gang tackle your opponent. The biggest question mark hangs over the suitability for console, as this is an intricate strategy game that's thrived on PC. We're also keen to see if the franchise is stale after all these years. But you can be sure that our inner 10-year-old who completed it eons ago will be all over this. 12 minutes. One of the benefits of game development under lockdown is that you have plenty of voice actors sitting on their hands eager for something to do. 12 Minutes has capitalised on this, drawing some household names including Willem Dafoe, James McAvoy and Daisy Ridley to lend them their lungs. Beyond the Hollywood A-list cast, there's plenty to intrigue here. It's from the Annapurna stable, which is a guarantee of quality if there ever was one. Plus, it's from the art director of The Witness, who has let the premise simmer with him for years before finally releasing it. It's that old cinematic chestnut of a time-looping scenario similar to Groundhog Day. You play the husband as a cop enters your room, accuses your wife of murder and then shoots you. But you wake from your death, fresh as a bag of roses, with the ability to replay those last 12 minutes. Can you break the cycle and save both you and your wife? We're betting it won't be as simple as playing Home Alone and leaving an iron as a swing trap. Crown Trick. On one hand, Crown Trick is as conventional as they come. We're drowning in roguelike dungeon crawlers, and this is yet another. But while the bedrock is super conventional, what developers Next Studios do on top is not. Every move you make in the dungeon causes the rest of the dungeon to move, not so dissimilar from Crypto the Necrodancer. But instead of making this a rhythm-based hack and slasher, it's about switching from real-time battling to turn-based battling whenever it suits you. That strategy is at the heart of Crown Trick, and it makes for a novel mix. Strap that onto some one more go mechanics and a procedurally generated dungeon, and you have a game that you'll be returning to for hour-long stints. Foreclosed. We're a sucker for style over substance, and Foreclosed has oodles of style. We're not sure about the substance yet. It's set in the cyberpunk genre, where you follow the story of Evan Kapnos. At least, you will only be Evan Kapnos for a short while, as he lives in a world where identities can be stripped from people and then auctioned to the highest bidder. Yours has been foreclosed in this way, and you're on a race against time to ensure that you're not erased from existence. This is a narrative-focused game which has the aim of narrowing the distance between game and cinematics. You'll be moving between cutscenes and gameplay with barely a notion that you've done so. We're eager to see if that works, or if we've just got a modern-day Dragon's Lair on our hands. In Sound Mind. The streamer-friendly psychological horror game. From Five Nights at Freddy's to last year's underrated gem Visage, there'll always be room for a game that makes wailing man-children scream and wet themselves in front of an audience. But rather than be the one-trick pony that we're portraying it as, InSound Mind has a lot going for it. It's from We Create Stuff, who made the internet darling and superlative mod Nightmare House 2. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with their first fully commercial release. It's also soundtracked by the Living Tombstone, who gave Five Nights at Freddy's its signature sound. But more than this, it's a dive into the subconscious as they try to capture our fears and then distill them into a video game. We're going to be right at the back of the queue for this one. We've got the nerves of a chihuahua. If you've been angling for a summer holiday this year but lockdown keeps scuppering you, perhaps an Xbox holiday is on the cards. There's certainly plenty of places to go, from the Rings of Hell to cyberpunk far futures. A couple are on Game Pass too, so you won't even have to shell out for more than a cheap subscription. Join us next month for September's games, where the silly season starts. It's a Life is Strange double bill, there's Diablo 2 Resurrected, which continues the remastery theme, and don't judge us, but we're quite up for Hot Wheels Unleashed 2.